Hey everyone. I'm really looking forward to visiting you at your schools to work on conferring with our student writers. Um, Conferring with writers can definitely be challenging, and it's something that, you know, teachers really don't perfect until they've taught writing for several years. But there are definitely some things that I can share with you to help make this process just a little bit clearer. Some things that just make it a little bit more explicit. So I just wanted to share this video with you before I come to visit you so that we can just start to kind of think and reflect about this idea. Okay. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to share a piece of student writing with you so that we can reflect on it and really think about how we can support our writers because we want to teach the writer, not the writing. It's really easy to look at a piece of writing and then initially you notice like maybe how messy it is or how they're missing punctuation marks or how they don't have capital letters. And that's really focusing on the writing and not the writer. So, the tool that I'm going to share with you is called a learning progression. And you can find these learning progressions in the Writing Pathways book that looks like this. And every school has a copy of this book. And this is a really amazing book to help you see like the trajectories of writing and how these progressions are really like the undergrid of a writer's development. So when I come to see you, if you can't find this book in your building or you would like me to give you a copy of some of these progressions, there's progressions for each of the writing genres. So it's really cool for you like to see the bump up right to the next grade level and kind of see where the writer was where they were coming from and then where they need to go. So that's just kind of what we're going to focus on in this video. And of course, when I come to visit you, I'm going to also leave you with a conferring tool that I think will really help you to make it more clear on specific feedback that you can give to your writers. Okay, so I'm going to share this piece of informational writing with you. And what I want you to do is just hit pause, just to take a moment to really reflect on it and and think about what you're noticing. Okay. All right, so here's the piece of writing I would like you to reflect on. So go ahead and just hit pause on this video and maybe jot down some things that you notice. And then when we come back, I'll share with you some things that I noticed. All right, welcome back. So the first thing that I noticed right away is that this student, in their illustration, they have almost like four different ideas. So this is really cool because this was like the illustrations really serve as a planning piece for planning out what you're going to write about. So I really, this is something that you could definitely compliment this writer on. I'm noticing up here that they have like some writing up here in the picture. Maybe you could talk to them about what this is. Maybe this is dialogue or just a detail that they wanted to focus on. And then just again, looking at the writing structure, I'm noticing the added details. Dogs can lick children, dogs can jump on you, dogs can run. Just the four different sentences based on the four different pictures. Well, I guess there's five different sentences, but based on their pictures up here, right? Uh, Again, you can notice that they're starting to use punctuation marks. So they're starting to approximate that. I'm noticing that we have some snap words that are spelled correctly. So that tells me that they are either, they have these words down in a snap or they're starting to really use the resources in the classroom, which is, which is amazing. They have a lot of vowels. They're using their vowel work. I see vowel teams. So a lot of positive things that you can notice from this piece of writing. Okay, so now I want you to press pause again, and now I want you to think about what would you have the student work on? What is the next step for this writer? Okay, welcome back. So, as you were reflecting on the next steps for this writer, or maybe what feedback you could give to this writer, um, it's important that you're thinking about the different areas of writing. So, were you thinking about the structure of this piece? So, like, were you thinking about maybe how did they, their lead, their introduction, right? Did they introduce the topic? Were you thinking about, did they use any transition words? Um, like, do they have, or did they have different parts of their writing? Were you thinking about the ending of it or the how it was organized? So that would all have to do with the structure of the writing. Secondly, did you focus on the development of the piece? So that would be like the elaboration. How many facts did this writer use to teach us about the topic? How many details, things like that. So that would have to do with the development of the piece. And then lastly, the third step would be looking at those language conventions. So that would be the spelling and the punctuation and the phonics. Are they using those word wall words? Are they using capital letters for names? Are they putting spaces between their words? So these are the three areas that you could definitely reflect on. But when we focus on conferring with our writers, we definitely only want to focus on one area. So I'm going to show you a tool that will help you determine what's next, right? Because sometimes it's hard because you're like, oh my gosh, I want to talk to them a little bit about their structure, but then I want to talk to them about this and I want to talk to them about this. And it's hard to just focus in on one thing. But in each conference, you do only want to give them one teaching point. Okay. Okay, so this is an example of learning progression for informational writing, and you're going to notice that it spans starting from pre-K, and this one goes all the way to sixth grade. This page only shows you third grade. But like I mentioned, the learning progression is really the undergird of a writer's development. And in order to teach the writer, you really need to place the writer's current work and skill set somewhere on this progression and to think, what is the writer doing, right? So then when you give the writer feedback or suggest next steps, you're helping the writer go from where she is on this learning progression towards wherever you believe might be the next steps for that writer. So thinking about the writer's place on this trajectory is really important. And, like by familiarizing yourself with this current progression, you guys are going to have a clearer sense of the trajectory of writing and whatever the particular genre is that they are doing in the classroom. And then you'll be ready to go with, a teaching point and some examples to use while you're conferring. So you'll see on here, like I mentioned, this is the structure area, and you can see how in kindergarten, like the expectation is to the writer tell, draw, and write about a topic. For first grade, we want the writer to teach the readers about a topic. And then the next step would be moving them to the writer teaching the reader some important points about a topic. So you can kind of see where did they come from and then where do they need to move to the next step. And it moves all the way for structure. You'll see it talks about their overall piece, the lead, their transitions, their ending, and their organization. And yeah, it is kind of hard to kind of get a full picture of this writer with just seeing these two pages because we don't know, like, did they have a beginning page? Did they have an ending? And then here's the rest of it, the back page, which has the craft piece. Did the writer use labels and words to give facts? And then, of course, here's the conventions, which is where a lot of people tend to go because it is really the easiest thing to see right away, to notice. Um, did they write letters for the sounds that they heard? Did they use word wall words to help them spell? And it's perfectly okay for you guys to just kind of hone in and focus on this area. Um, because this is where you could really use the phonics that you're teaching them in your small groups, and then you could again reteach the same skills during their conference. Okay, so this is kind of what we're going to talk about when I come to see you. I'm going to give you a tool that I think is going to make really um, easy for you, with some ideas of things that you can leave with the writer to help remind them of the goal and what you want them to work on. All right, well, hopefully this was helpful. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful. Maybe this is something that you're already doing and you're like, yep, got this. Um, but if not, I hope that this helped for you to kind of think about the writer on a trajectory and to think about that writing process. And, giving sometimes when we sit down with a writer, we just can't think of anything to say, right? We can't think of anything they need to work on. And so giving them a compliment is perfectly appropriate. In fact, compliments are really helpful for our writers when they're just starting to approximate things, and we're giving them that feedback that, yes, continue doing what you're doing, right? So it's perfectly okay for you just to give them compliments too. But this feedback is so incredibly important to move our writers forward. And if we can really hone in on what is the most valuable piece of feedback I can give to this writer to move them forward, to move them ahead. We just want to continue making progress. And we want to also give them feedback that they'll continue to use independently without us sitting right next to them. And we want them to continue uh, to use that teaching point, not just in that one piece of writing, but in all of their pieces of writing moving forward. So that is the ultimate goal. So the tool that I'm going to leave you with when I come to see you will help you to see some visuals that you can leave with your student just to remind them of the important work that you're doing with them. So if you think of any questions after this video, make sure that you write them down so that you can ask me when I come to see you. But I'm really looking forward to working with you and supporting our student writers. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.